We're going with this story here that reads Senate raises alarm over empty food reserve, warns of imminent protest. The Guardian newspaper.
We give thanks and praises to God that at last, I think our political leaders are beginning to feel the heat and the real situation that we have in this country. For a long time, they have actually been in denial, in the sense that the reaction has been just to ignore what every other person, has been saying, raising alarm and this and that. So, at last, time will tell whether this is just a PR exercise to stem the calculated reaction that the politicians might be thinking, both to the current crisis in Nigeria and the example that was seen in Kenya, because you can't deny that. The Kenyan issue has brought these things to the fore now all over Africa. And anybody who says that there will be no reaction in terms of people seeing it as a good example to follow, anybody who tells you that will be burying his head in the sand. So it's in all the papers. Senate raises alarm over empty food. This is in the Guardian, but the Vanguard put it more succinctly with their screaming headline here on page 4, which says that hunger, Nigerians are losing patience, and that's the Senate again. I've told. Senate tells Tinubu. It doesn't tell the government. It tells Tinubu that listen, Nigerians are losing patience. And part of the writer of the story says food situation an emergency as federal government deploys 60 trucks of fertilizers to 36 states. 60 trucks of fertilizer to 32 states, even if they start planting now, when is it going to yield? Okay. I will get to that story, that has to do also with quickly putting the ministry together. So what we can see now is that I think the panic button has been pressed. And the story says that, I'm going back to the Guardian story, it says, with acute hunger and hardship occasioned by the unbearable rise in the cost of food items, an angry Senate disclosed yesterday that the country has no food in its reserves. Worried by the inflation that eroded the purchasing power of Nigerians, the Senate asked the presidency to, without further delay, address the issue of food insecurity and avert impending mass action. We would also like to see what plan the Senate is going to put forward to aid the government decision, which includes, amongst many, if at least for perception, sacrifices that are ready to be made. Remember, in 1 or 2 countries, or 3 in Africa now, top politicians in their assemblies, legislature and executive, they're all taking pay cuts and, anything that can be done to save money, at least for them to see that, they appreciate the sufferings that people are going through is being done. Meanwhile, the famous, I say famous because of between myself and Oga Kwata here. Meanwhile, the famous National Bureau of Statistics revealed last month that food inflation rose above 40% in May 2024.
That's right.
40% in May 20. This figure I can identify with. That figure I had my suspicion. The Senate which modified and adopted the motion supported by Sunday Karimi APC Kogi West, one that the high cost of food could spur citizens to embark on nationwide protests. Okay, so it is resolved that the government should immediately address the food crisis. The president of the Senate had to instruct the chairman Senate Committee on Agric to disclose the issues militating against the distribution of fertilizers. According to Mustafa, the NSA Nuhu Ribadu temporarily halted fertilizer distribution for security reasons. Okay, we are not told what security reasons, but he halted. He, however, disclosed that that there was an assurance that the exercise will soon commence. He added that each state had been allocated 60 trucks of fertilizers to be shared by the governors. Now listen, each state has been allocated 60 trucks to be shared by the governor. Of course, it will be at his discretion and to whom he pleases. Okay? But to assuage the fear that senators who belong to different political parties from their governors may suffer discrimination in the distribution of the fertilizers. The senators are not necessarily farmers, but to assuage so that it can be evenly distributed, each senator has been allocated 2 trucks on behalf of their districts. Now, who does this? Who does this? So what happens is this. So each senator now has an allocation of two trucks of fertilizers. Your guess is as good as mine. And it says that each member of the House of Reps will get 1 truck of fertilizers on behalf of their constituencies. So if you have a House of Rep member, for example, in Lagos, who gets 1 truck, doesn't common sense tell you that the likelihood is that if you are not a member of the APC, you can't have access to those fertilizers? Common sense. I mean, so you can see what I would call the complete lack of thought and seriousness on our people. You should have a register of farmers by now. Mm-hmm. Every state. What do you have? A ministry of agriculture?
Exactly, the
for?
Ministry of Agriculture.
You should have. You should know the farmers that you are going to.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they have it.
So you know, at every turn, you just get some kind of irritation that there is a problem upstairs. There is a problem upstairs, and until we take this sense of entitlement out of our thought and we force our people to do things that are rational, this is what is going to get. This is not going to address anything. If care is not taken, Sheriff, in some states, the fertilizers are going to end up on the market. Well, I mean, so you empower. So you are empowering the governors. You are now empowering the National Assembly at getting their own share. Anytime from now, you will hear that, the ministers too should get, since his minister is 1 per state, the minister too should get at least 1 truck. And then you find the politicians distributing. When are we going to get out of all this? So for me, there is no hope rising in this arrangement. In any case, the issue of fertilizers is a bit for the future, short as it may be. What are we going to do presently? Mm-hmm. So that's what we have. The second story will be read by Mr. Sheriff.
Let's go to the second story.
Sheikh Quadry. Essay? No, I don't have essay. Add Sheikh Quadry.
House queries delays at refineries. Sharp practices in oil sector.
You know, another crisis we face, of course, is fuel. I'm hearing some people are buying as high as 900. Now, that's what I heard. Some pumps are doing 700, 750 in between. So the House of Reps again has woken up, and it has mandated its committee on petroleum downstream, chaired by Ikenga Imo Ogunchiyere, to unearth the anomalies militating against the oil sector in the country's interest. Is it in 2024 you are going to unearth the sector? Is to go after those who are making life. It's not rocket science. So this is what I call playing to the gallery. If all the House of Reps can say is for honorable, to go and unearth what when even an intelligent secondary school, if you ask for, by the way, we have this debate we call a beg to differ. If you put the days in front, if you put it as a subject between those students, they will tear it apart.
Mm-hmm. I trust them.
They would tear. Those guys are very intelligent. When is the next one, though?
August.
I can't wait to be part of all that. So, moving the motion, we are pointed at the rot in the downstream and petroleum sector, ranging from subsidy payments, depot sharp subsidy payments, as we still don't know one person that is complicit in that subsidy payment racket. 1 year after Tinubu took over the reins of government, and subsidy was the main issue. We still can't say this and something limited, or these individuals are the ones who siphoned our money under that sharp practice. But so that's what we have that happened in the House of Reps. Yesterday. So it doesn't look so far. I'm probably now be going to bed tonight worse than yesterday, in the sense that Yes, okay, so these things have been identified, but I can't see any solution that is being proffered by the government. Maybe in the next story that we are going to read, maybe in the next story, a solution might prop up. Do you think so?
I don't think so.
Read the
I
next
will
story.
read it now.
Read the next
But let
story.
me answer you. I don't think so.
Read the next story.
Okay.
Read it. Read the car.
All right.
Read the headline word for word.
Okay. Tinubu woos herders with livestock ministry, increases fiscal strain.
Pastor Ichwa Igodalo is going to sue me one of these days for using his phrase over and over again in public discourse. Who does that? You want to set up another ministry to face a problem that can jolly well be taken, a problem that can be solved within the bloated cabinet that you have, that can be solved by the Ministry of Agri. He said all you need to, of course, I'm sure you will have a livestock section in the ministry, and they would take. So, is it that every time we have a problem? So, if the problem of subsidy goes out of hand, we'll have a ministry of subsidy. I heard some people. Please don't be calling my name when I'm not on air, please, because the reports I get always frighten me. That has heard somebody with the Ministry of Shoemaker, Ministry of this. Don't put even you guys on Twitter. When this is happening, they say, "Oh, Jimi, because where we are now is the dark cloud that we have in this country is making visibility very, very poor. That's, the dark cloud that we have is making visibility very, very poor. So we don't know at which point we can go into turbulence. The dark cloud that we have has made visibility very poor. So the story says that President Bola Tinubu has heeded the call for a special institution that would oversee and manage challenges facing herders in the light of the perennial farmer herder crisis, with the creation of Ministry of Livestock Department. The announcement set the borrowing for establishment of a work environment, purchase of work tools, and engagement of personnel to oversee the workings of the new ministry. But this decision would come at a cost and extra financial burden on the government and more strain on scanty and slow-growing public revenue, especially at a time the administration was considering a piecemeal implementation of the Oronsaye report, seeking to merge and downgrade some ministries, departments, and MDAs. That's what the Guardian says. And it's just common sense. At a time you should be cutting ministries, you are creating new ones. There is a capacity problem at the top of affairs in this country. I said it in the beginning. There is a capacity problem. There is what you get are panic measures. You have wrong people in the wrong places. You have people being appointed on the basis of political considerations. While those who can solve these problems are hanging out there, they have now become the critics. And I think it is time that friends of the president quickly move in and help him revamp this country. We are headed, as far as I'm concerned, we're using the wrong Google Maps. We're using the Google map of Republic of Benin to try to get to Benin. It is becoming clear. I don't even know if the president is available for advice. I don't know. I would love to know exactly how this government is being run. Is it that those even within the cabinet of the president, because they are intelligent people there, one or two. But when you hear these things, do we have a nodding cabinet? Oh yes, Your Excellency, yes, it's a brilliant idea. I know I had said, and I repeat it again, that in my own personal opinion, I don't think this gentleman has the capacity to lead this nation. And I also said that I wish this country, the way this country is the kind of problem we have now. We need somebody who has what it takes. educationally, experience, and dedication. Some of the things that we see, that some of the decisions that are being taken, shows that maybe we're hearing the voice of Esau and the whatever of Jacob, but we put the other way around. Until we have dedicated leaders who are dedicated to the people, this is what we will get. This, as far as I'm concerned, this is just a panic measure, and it lacks any reasoning. It lacks any reasoning to now quickly set up the issue of this livestock and whatever is beyond creating a ministry. It's a policy thing, and I don't think you need a new ministry to drive it. The extra burden comes at the toughest time in the country's history. Nominal revenues, for example, are growing at a sluggish rate. In real terms, the growth is almost stagnant. For instance, in the first 9 months of last year, retained revenue grew by 36% from 5.5 trillion in the corresponding period in 2022 to 7.56 trillion in the first 3 quarters of last year. Sadly, about 77% of the retained revenue went into debt servicing in the period, leaving a paltry sum for other spending needs. The recurrent expenditure which the new ministry will increase was equivalent to 132% of the revenue earned in the period, with the shortfall coming from debt. While some stakeholders see the president's move as a bold step in solving the perennial farmers and herders clashes following the creation of the Ministry of Livestock Development, others allude in his part to an unfolding, political consideration, to an unfolding 2027 game of Curry the North that may be feeling ostracized by the skewed appointments in this administration. So let me give them something to make them happy. For Bola Tinubu, is always politics. It is always politics. It is always politics. And with that kind of mindset, what these things constantly do, which has been followed by what you can see in the issue of the fertilizer, that give every senator 2 trucks, give reps 1 truck. It's always a settlement idea, which doesn't augur well for you and I, who are the common people. So they see it as while some see the president's move as a bold step in solving the perennial and herders clash following the creation of the Ministry of Livestock Development, others allude in its part to an unfolding 2027 game of Curry the North that may be feeling ostracized, and so on and so forth. So it's to give the North, as it were, a slice of the national cake that is going around. Heaven help us all. It's not a nice morning, is it? Oh yeah, let's go on to the next one. Should we close? Let us read Diabomi. Should we read the Diabomi?
No, we can't read. We can't read.
Then wait till 9 o'clock.
I feel they keep taking Nigerians for granted.
Yes.
I feel
yes,
that,
and that is the most painful. That is the most painful part, because if you are somebody who's quite intelligent and whatever, you will feel raped. I feel raped that in this country, this is the kind of thought that is going on. We are the laughing stock of those who understand governance. We are the laughing stock. I repeat, somebody you cannot put to head to be managing director of a big multinational, like a bank and the LND at the very least, should not be heading a country in these current times. Forget all the sentiments, all the political. If you look at it from a practical standpoint, you need intelligence devoted. That's the most important word, devoted. That even if you don't know, you will honestly go and look for solutions that will solve the problem. Not that would, that would ensure that you are in power. I mean, if you follow politics in America and some other countries, can you imagine saying that you're going to give fertilizers to members National Assembly to share.
Are they farmers?
Are they farmers? You don't have a list of farmers? Excuse me? You Ministry of Agriculture.
There are farmers cooperatives everywhere.
Everywhere.
And you have their records.
You have their records. But you now say that, Senator, let us use your name. Not my name.
No. I will. It will be like you have raped me.
Let me rape you.
No.
You know, as it goes down the line, some people will complain. Bet me, if care is not taken, they'll say, okay, local government chairman should have these allocations, and it will be given to those whom they please. Those fertilizers are going to end up on the market.
It's happened before. It's
happened
not going to be a new thing.
Jack Onday, in his wisdom, created a corridor on the Lagos-Ekpe Road that was supposed to be for farming. He had this grand idea. He allocated land to people. Acres. They are now, all of them are now housing estates. They've been sold from one hand to the other. What Yoruba people call atowodowo. They are like in 6th generation owners now. And these are the estates that the elite occupy. Of the Lagos. The whole idea of opening up that corridor and turning that road. That road used to be a racetrack for us way back when it was being built. Like, go and test your vehicle there. You know, me and cars, crazy. The whole idea was for people who had allocated land, acres. The politicians at that time hijacked it, sold it to their friends, who sold it to a third party. Now, most of those lands now are housing estates for the elites to live in and buy. So history is repeating itself. We need to be careful. We need to be careful. I am glad the Senate itself said it. Nigerians are being pushed virtually to the wall.
Funny developments in this country, especially when we have a national livestock transmission plan that has been implemented. I mean, there are 2 states that have been. This plan is being tested right now, and there have been no complaints as regards this plan. But the next thing that we want to think about is to create a ministry
of livestock. But it said there it's likely to be for settlement. So that, to put it in the words of one famous politician, that I know, so that they too can have something to eat.
It's all right. Let's take this next story. Another interesting one. Oh, what a day, man. What a day. FG plans to borrow another $2 billion crude oil-backed loan.
Full stop. Next story. What is there to say? Full stop. Let me just read the first paragraph. I can't go further here. The federal government plans to borrow an additional $2 billion in crude oil-backed loans from international creditors. So what it means is part of your crude will go into servicing these loans.
Oh, yes.
That's what it means, to the tune of $2 billion. And they say that the loan is to boost its financial inflows, adding that 2 sources familiar with the matter confirmed the details. But the NNPC denied it and said they are not. It says the NNPC spokesman says not true. This is said by Reuters. So the people you are negotiating with are the ones who released the story to Reuters. Okay, and the NNPC spokesman Olufemi Shoneye in the response said the report is not true. He says not true, but he now says, listen, not true. He says, when we are ready to proceed with any of the initiatives mentioned, we will make an official announcement. So it is true. It is just that they are not ready.
They are not ready.
That's the meaning of what he said. Let me repeat it again. He says, not true. When we are ready to proceed with any of the initiatives mentioned, we will make an official announcement.
Because it's not from them, so it's not true.
And he adds that as a global energy company, we need funding to undertake aggressive drilling campaigns. Naturally, we will require financing for a high capital expenditure projects. For as long as the NNPC is structured the way it is, 100% government owned virtually.
Let's take our next story. I think we can take one more story before we go. Kidnapping children of Kaduna judge set free by bandits.
You know, this phenomenon now is something that will set an alarm in the minds of our elites. It appears to me that this was a targeted kidnap of a judge and her 4 children. And he says that they were abducted from their home. Had it been they were driving on the streets or whatever, they were abducted from their home in the Gabi local government area of Kaduna State. She was later released after spending 5 days with her abductors. You can get a sense of what could have gone down. Also, her first son was killed by the hoodlums for the inability of the family to provide the ransom money. The gangsters demanded 150 million for the children's release and issued an ultimatum demanding the ransom to be paid within the next 6 days. The New Telegraph says they cannot verify if a ransom was paid or how much was paid. I think it's to identify how much was paid because it doesn't say here that the police released them. This is a second yellow for our elites. This, to me, is the targeted kidnap. I hope we don't get to a point when these things are done as a means, as a means to ensure that Nigeria is properly governed. That is the way I can couch it without myself getting into trouble with use of words. But this is a story worth noting. And I beg our elites, not necessarily for themselves, our political elite and the elite, but for the sake of their children who are innocent, to take note of these things. Somebody sent me a video that I couldn't believe what I saw. And I was traumatized, of some 40-year-old person. I don't know if you ever, I should start sending you these things. I won't die alone, no. I won't die. We are tied together, yes.
We're not supposed to die
together.
We
are tied together. We are tied together. We are Mr. and Mrs. Disu Quadry in this business.
Who is the Mr.? Who is the Mrs.?
If you see in this era, the kind of money that was spent, the party was held across the road here.
Yeah.
If you see what, it was so obscene, it was nauseating, almost to the point that you wanted to throw up. Sheriff, let me go.
We have to go. You have said we're tied together, so you can't go alone. You're both going.
So every man for himself and God for all.
And now, are we?
Yes, so it's when something is about to be checked. Let me go and see if I can lobby for my own fertilizer truck. Nigeria is just a mess, Sheriff. Oil allocation, the same thing. Oil block, the same thing.
You're coming back at 9 for Debony.
Yeah, I'll be back at 9.
All right. Lagos, thank you for being part of the show today. Let's hand you back to Kofi Bartels now for the continuation of the Morning Crossfire. Stay here, please.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.